What's up, folks? Sean, the Average Angler, coming at you with another great video today. We got something special. Hopefully I can get through it. I'm struggling a little bit with migraine the last 2 days. I took a half of my medication because I don't like it. It's a necessary evil when it crops its ugly head. So we're going to try and get through this. We're going to go over a great technique for this time of year, and it's just starting now. Some of it's, could have been doing this for the past month, depending on where you're at. It's just kind of coming into play here now where I'm at. In northern, call it Central California by miles, whatever. Anyway, great technique, catches lots of big fish. If you've been watching Bassmaster Elites, you'll have seen this technique in play this year, which is really, really cool because everybody thinks everything's forward-facing sonar, and I am not the forward-facing sonar expert. I use it, I like it for finding things I want to throw on, seeing how fish are positioned, but I'm not a minnow guy. I'm trying to learn. I'm just old, a little slow, so it takes me a little while. Anyway, we're going to go over this technique today. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below. See, I'm already messed up. That's the medication, I promise. Hit that subscribe button down below. Join the community, and we're going to cover some really cool stuff today. If you haven't done this, I suggest maybe you start getting into it. We're going to cover rods. We're going to cover line. We're going to cover gear ratios of your reels. We're going to cover baits. There's a ton of them out there. I got 4 boxes here for you guys. We'll go through it quick. I don't want to take your whole day, but this is good stuff, so I think you're going to like it. And that is deep cranking. Deep cranking has long been a way to catch bigger fish. From the old days to now. And recent tournaments on the Elite Series has shown that the deep crankbait is still a player. It's always been a player. People just got into the minnow, and now that they're adjusting the minnow, guess what? The deep crankbait's back. Because it's a great way to catch bigger than average fish. That's the biggest reason. And it's so fun, guys. It is way easier than people make it out to be, okay? Last week I had a guy question me on a rod. Don't overthink this shit. I'm telling you, I throw a lot of these baits on my freaking chatterbait rod. 733 V Irod Quercus. I absolutely love that rod for these baits. It's phenomenal. But that said, I'm going to show you right here. You see that big old deep crankbait tied on. I'm going to show you what I'm using, okay? And first thing I'm going to tell you, lure weights on rods are not always accurate. Somebody has to come up with weights. There's no real scientific method for it. I'm telling you, I fish this, you see the bait on there, okay? That is a big crankbait. That is an OSP Magnum EX DR. This baby runs down in the mid-20s, maybe high 20s if you're long lining. But I want to show you IRG. 763 cc. This is the Crank Launcher Junior. The Junior. Okay, if you don't like the way this rod casts, and this is deep crankbaits is all about the casting ability. It is important to get a nice long cast. If you don't like the way this casts, if you can't figure out how to cast it with the weight of this bait, then you move up to the regular crank launcher. It will handle your deep crankbaits. I promise you, okay? People way overthink deep cranking. Somewhere along the line, and I get it, it's casting distance, but quite honestly, I can cast a 7'3" with these big crankbaits. Most deep crankbaits nowadays are much different than the old days where they have the weight transfer system in them now. So they fly a long ways very easily. It's not difficult to do. And I'm going to go over some crankbaits here that I really like simplify it, and we're talking about bottom price, meaning mass-produced, typical price crankbaits, all the way up to the OSP and some Megabass, which are special, and we'll go over that when we get to them. But we're going to start out with this little box right here. And this is my under 17 foot box, if you will. Now, first of all, I want to say, this is a tactical crank. Okay, you'll see there's lots of hook rash on there. The line's still tied on there. The tactical crank says up to 17. Forget all the depths they tell you they run. If you get forward-facing sonar, you're going to find out a lot of this is BS. And in order to get it to run the depth they say, you got to throw it on a line you're not going to throw it on. I find the tactical crank pretty easy to get down in that 14 to 15 foot range. It's pretty simple to cast it out, get it down in that depth. I like ghost patterns, stuff that's transparent that you can see through. All right, moving on from the tactical cranks. Great crankbait. We're going to go over how to fish all these because they're going to be pretty similar in the end, okay? My next box here is this here. We've got basically our under 20 foot stuff. Some of these run better at depths than others. A staple that you don't want to be without is this here, Strike King 6XD. And I keep the colors pretty simple, okay? I've got some shad patterns. There's a solid, there's a ghost. I've got a hard knock over here with a natural type paint. Not much different. It's a shad pattern, okay? But it's a solid paint. Really, all you need to be concerned about is transparent and non-transparent, okay? I got my 6XDs in a craw style pattern. And then I have a 5XD in here if I need to downsize a little bit. Now you'll notice most of these aren't overly sized. I believe they're 3/4 of an ounce. They cast really well. They dive to good depths. The action's good. The Strike King 6XD may be one of the best deep diving crankbaits on the market. And they're affordable, so that part's great. In that same realm, if you're really into paint jobs and wanting much better finishes, this is the 6 Sense 300 DD. Now 6 Sense, in order to get to that depth of the 6XD, you're going to have to cross over lines between the 300 and the 500 DD. But you will see there that the finish and paint is phenomenal on these. Again, there's more of a transparent, and here is a solid. All shad patterns, okay? Now, I want to bring something to light that I don't like about these two brands. All right, so one thing I need to make you guys aware of, a little disappointing in some aspects, but I'm not seeing it on all the baits, but it has cropped up on the Strike King 6XD. Look at the center right there, okay? And you'll see it on the bottom here as well. The seam has split, okay? And it's allowing water in. So this is no good. Here's a brand new 6 Sense, never even thrown this one. You can see the same thing. Now, this one's on the top, not so much on the bottom, but the bottom line is the bait's separated. Not the end of the world. The baits work really well. These have all been stored in the same area, so I don't quite know what to say, except maybe it's a flaw in production. But anyway, just wanted to make you guys aware of it. Keep an eye out. Don't be surprised if you see it. I've got lots of Strike King and 6 Sense that are great, been great for years and years and years. So, not the end of the world to me. Just bringing it up. Next, we have, this is a Berkley Dredger. And the dredgers, you can always tell because they've got that metal cylinder in the lip. Berkley says that helps it dive. This is pretty much a standard size crankbait as far as the body goes. The weight, I think you're around 3/4 of an ounce. I'll put all the specs and stuff down in the video for you guys. But again, you got transparent and you got solid shad pattern. I don't stray a whole lot for that other than adding a craw pattern. I know chartreuse and blue is really popular in a lot of areas. And it's probably popular in my area. It's just not one of my confidence colors. This is another 6 cents. This is a new cloud series. This is going to be a little bit shallower. Again, 2 shad patterns. I pretty much stay in those realms. Here is another Strike King 6XD, a well-used Strike King 6XD. If you look down at the bill down here, it's all beat up from grinding along the rocks. That's where we want these baits. We want these baits bouncing off bottom, deflecting off of rocks. All of these have a weight transfer system in them, so they cast very well. So we went over the rod. Again, I don't mind. A matter of fact, a lot of times I throw these on the 733V, which is a 7'3" medium heavy chatterbait rod. It doubles great as a crankbait rod. Okay, these bigger crankbaits, these baits grind on the bottom. They grind to pull them down. Okay, crankbaiting is not for the faint of heart. You got to get the bait down to the bottom. Once you get there, you want to accelerate your retrieve so that it speeds up and it's really deflecting off of stuff. If the crankbait is not hitting off of stuff, we're not quite reaching where we need to be with the depth, which is why we have so many. At times, you may need to stop and go. If we're not hitting bottom, we need to impart some action. You can do that by speed reel. Crank, 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 stop. Crank, 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 stop. Crank, 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 stop. Change of speed or direction is what we need to do with the crankbait. All right, so moving on to now our 20 plus footers. And I've got a few here, and this is where things get a little pricier as far as the baits I'm using. All right, OSP Magnum EX DR. Phenomenal crankbaits, okay? Very deep divers, mid-20s they claim. What I'll tell you is it's no problem getting them over 20. Transparent, solid, matte finish, but nonetheless, you will notice these are both kind of subtle. Now here's the big deal, is really in the lip. Well, there's multiple big deals with OSP. OSP is probably one of the best, if not the best crankbait on the market. This bill, for the depth it's running, the width, is, I would call it narrow, because for as deep as these are running. Now you will notice, if you can hear it, there is a big ball in there. You see it right back there in the back of the bait. That's why we have transparency. We love that kind of thing. Same thing in here. Okay, these are the same baits, different colors. That ball helps cast this bait a freaking country mile. Slit, shift back to the front, dives down, deflects off of stuff. Fantastic. Okay, great bait. That's the OSP. Here's another one. Actually, there's two more. Transparent watermelon colors, as many of you know, I love transparent watermelon. Now they're different. Okay, there's some red on the bottom of this one. This one's more transparent watermelon. Okay, great crankbaits. Again, I can still use that 763 Crank Launch Junior. It casts these baits phenomenal. Just need to learn to cast. All right. What is this one? These are the same, I think. They are. These are Megabass Deep Six. let's see, Deep Six, Magnum, and I'll never read that, shit's too small. Magnum, oh, I can't read it. Again, what you're gonna notice is the thin bill. Okay, so we got a very deep diver. This is probably the easiest retrieve deep diving crankbait on the market. They're phenomenal crankbaits. They get bit. They get down to depth. That's really the ticket. When you're trying to get down deeper, you need to get down to depth, deflect off of things, and you will get bit. Again, transparent, solid, right? Transparent, solid. Craw, shad. I don't stray far from that. And here, you will notice, these are different generations of the Deep Six. They're a little bit different. Nothing I'm gonna worry about. Again, phenomenal crankbaits, great casting because they've got a great transfer system in them. The transfer system is the weight shifting when you cast from front to back. If your bait is casting and it's not tumbling, it's going to go much further. It's going to go like a bullet, right? As that weight system transfers, goes to the back. Now, let's get into a few of the other fine details that we need to pay attention to. And I apologize, this video is getting longer. I know it's not my intention, but this is a great technique to catch big fish, and all this stuff matters. Now, that rod, we've already gone over it, so I don't need to go back over that. 763 Crank Launcher Junior. The weight on here, like I said, don't pay no attention to it. 3/8 to 3/4, 8 to 17 pound test. I am going to be throwing 12 to 14 pound test on these deep divers. Now you can go down to 10. OSP's depths are rated with a heavier line than a lot of others. A lot of others are basing their line off of 8 or 10 pound test. Just something to keep in mind. You'll notice that OSP is tied on to the rod. All right, reel. That is a Tatula 150 7.3. Okay, I'm sorry, it's a 200. Look at that, 200. We got even more line on there. Just to afford us better castability, okay? The spool's a little bit wider this way from one side to the other. That line comes off a little better. It's gonna cast a little bit better. It's also going to retrieve the line a little bit better. You have more line on the spool, the speed a little faster. Now, why am I throwing a deep diving crankbait on a 7.3-to-1 reel? Speed kills. That's really the definition, okay? Speed kills. We want to be able to get that bait down there and really put action into it. You're putting action into it by speeding that bait up and having it deflect off of things, act really, really erratic, and trigger strikes. That's the whole idea. Trigger strikes, we're gonna catch bigger fish. Look, this is a great technique, guys. A lot of fun now through summer. For some of you, it's already started. Those of you that are lucky enough to be in a little warmer climate, well, until it's too warm, right? But y'all get it. We're all on the same page here, trying to catch bigger fish, right? Deep cranking is a phenomenal way to catch bigger fish. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Now, that said, Irod has a new rod out. I think it's 9 foot 6 inches. I'll put the link in the description. It is a launcher. I think it's called the launcher, something like that. It is a deep crankbait rod. I don't typically like the longer rods myself. 7.6 is about as much as I go. I've got some longer ones over there. I've got some 8-footers over there. I tend to lean towards these, okay? The 7.3 to 7.6 fit my casting style better. And that's really the trick to casting these bigger crankbaits, is finding the rod that works for you so that in your backswing, it's allowing the rod to load properly, get that transfer system back, and then cast it, right? Let it sail off into the sunset before we retrieve it back. I'd love to tell you one rod works for everybody, but it doesn't. So you need to find what works best for you. The 763 is a great happy median of not being too long to being comfortable to handling the baits. And then a 7.3, 7.4, something like that with a moderate taper. Okay, so you don't want a fast, you want a moderate, so you get a little more bend in the rod. Works phenomenal for all these other ones. Now you can use the 763. I will use the 763 unless I have multiple crankbaits rigged up. Then I have to choose, and I go to the bigger bait on the 763. I use one of my alternatives for the other ones like the 6XD or the 6 cents. That said, I also use a 703 crank rod for those baits as well. Don't overthink that you need to have or have to have a long rod to throw your crankbaits. The key thing is getting a long cast and having the right reel retrieving speed so that you can meet what you need to meet for the fish. All right? Very simple. It's not overcomplicated. Let's go out there and get some deep crankfish. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.